Toonami Studios.
Ladies and gentlemen, because there is a movie coming out in November, I do believe, with the same title as this comic book, we have to have brand synergy. Boom, 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 boom. That's right. Eternals has a new comic. Yeah. Dude, okay, answer me this in the comment section below. Does anybody care about the Eternals? I sure as hell don't. I don't think they're cool. I think they're an interesting concept. It's very cosmic, in over its own head sometimes, and doesn't hold up and doesn't work really well. They're not the New Gods. They don't work as well as the New Gods do. So, they're getting a movie. Bold choice from Marvel to make a movie of the Eternals, now that they got the X-Men and Inhumans, but whatever. That's for them to decide to do whatever. I don't care. This book is pretty dense, and I don't mean that it's hard to read, because I don't think it's hard to read, but there's just so much happening in this book that if you've never read an Eternals book in your life, I don't think it's going to make you want to read these characters. It's really just hard to understand the insanity that happens in this book right from the get-go. So we open up, there's some narration from the Machine, and the Machine, I'm just going to simplify it for you guys. The Machine is pretty much the Mother Box. It's that concept. These are the New Gods, but in Marvel, and they don't make as much sense. It's really just weird. So the Machine does a lot of narration throughout the book, but we're not going to focus on that because she is more just like recapping like what's happening in the current events that we're seeing. So we'll focus more on the actual story that we're seeing in front of us here. Icarus is awaking from his slumber. He is the last Eternal to awaken from this newly renovated existence. He's in the Exclusion, which is just like a healing whatever the hell somewhere deep in the Arctic. And he wakes up, he's like, what's going on? Why am I here? And he slowly starts to regain his like identity and who he is, and he's wondering who else is alive. It's like, everyone's alive, buddy. Everyone's here. You're the last to return. And we get a nice page where it just gives us all this information on a bunch of characters and where people are in the places. It's like Olympia, Polaria, the Exclusion, and there's a bunch of these places. You're like, this is a lot of information to dump on people. But I guess if anybody can do it, it's Kieran Gillen. He could probably make you interested in all this crap. Maybe as the book goes further down the line, I'll be more interested in this crap. But as it stands, I wasn't blown away by this book. I think it's really dense. And that's not a great thing sometimes, especially when you're trying to sell these characters to a wider audience that doesn't really know who they are. And I guess that's why there's a lot of expository stuff in this book, and a lot of just like, let's just describe every scene and every character in it. So Zoros starts talking to Icarus. He's like, okay, things are weird. We all have to be together of one mind, so I need you to do the honors. Since the person that we need to free is at the Exclusion, can you open up the gates and just let them run free and do their thing? So they're like, this is a dumb idea. Icarus is kind of like, why are we doing this? But whatever. So he goes to this weird crystal palace. He opens up this ball and he frees Sprite. And guys, don't forget, Sprite's always been a dude. Sprite has been a dude, but we cast a woman in the Marvel Studios movie, so now we are going to make Sprite a girl and explain it later. We'll get to that when we explain it later, but Sprite is free now. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. I've been there for so long. What's going up? You got to catch me up on everything. And he's like, just forget it. You're allowed to be free now. We'll figure everything out later. Let's go. Sprite's just like, I gotta go see the world and express all this stuff. So she jumps through a portal. Icarus follows. They wind up in New York, of course, because we gotta sell this book somehow. And Sprite's like, man, I've been gone for like years and millennia. Like, what's going on here? Everything's cool. Like, how did I get here? Have I ever seen this before? And this is the first reference we get to. Yeah, like one day you got bored of being a child, so you tried to kill everything and like turn the machine off to like free yourself from this prison, pretty much. And that's the Neil Gaiman book. Go read the Neil Gaiman book. I literally think they re-released it last week or this week. Go read the Neil Gaiman Eternals book, because there's like Kirby did his thing, then Neil Gaiman did his thing, and now Kieran Gillen's doing his thing. That's it. That's like all the Eternals have ever really been. It's just prolific writers trying to make it work. So if you like that, go for it. Just try to read it. It's dense, guys. Holy fuck, is it dense. So she's like, oh, wow, that sounds terrible. I'd never do that sort of thing now. And here comes Tony Stark because we got to sell this book. And if Iron Man's in the book, we can market that in the trailers for we do for comic books now. So Tony Stark, he's like, last time I saw you guys, you were all being killed in Jason Aaron's Avengers book. And you're like, yeah, that's true. But no, Icarus is like, I'm feeling much better. And Tony's just kind of in this zone. It's like, all right, well, this is weird. Like, what is this? What is this? Is this that weird kid boy that tried to kill me, kill everything earlier? And it's like, yeah, well, now we can switch our gender because sometimes we get bored. And it's like, that's fine. So both of them, of Icarus and Sprite, feel like this, like, detonation or something, deviation below the surface. So they're just like, Tony, all right, we got to go do our eternal thing. So they leave, they go into the sewers, and we get some explanation, which is very important. Very important, I think, for new readers who have no idea what's going on. There are deviants, and deviants are just kind of like bad things that were created. And the book kind of describes them as gremlins, where it's like, they're fine, but if you make them mad, they're going to kill you and stuff. And like a deviant would be like, we do that with serial killers. And it's like, cool, that's funny. That's fun. But they beat him up, they take down the deviant, they save a guy who's being attacked by it, and they're just like walking through New York, just like, man, this is fun. Sprite's just so energetic. It's like, this is great. Look at all this fun. We can eat food here. We can see all these different people. Man, this is great. We got to figure out more stuff going on. But they walk through another portal, and they end up in Olympia. And Olympia is where they meet Phastos. And Phastos and Druig are there, and it's like, yeah, well, something just happened to Zuras. And Zuras was killed, and they're like, what happened to him? Well, something with immense power, like, literally just, like, crushed his skull in. So there's obviously a killer going around killing the Eternals, and everyone is quick to assume that it's Sprite because, Sprite did it last time, and Druig, being the dick he is, he's like, or maybe it was you, Icarus, because you are supporting the Sprite kid. Okay, I get it. I'm not a big Eternals fan, so like the plot that there's like somebody is killing the Eternals, I'm like, that's great. Too bad you didn't open this book with them being resurrected. I don't know. These characters, they can be likable, but I don't think they have been. I don't think they've been great, and it's weird. I don't know. So, Icarus goes to talk to the machine, or the mother box, pretty much. He's like, all right, machine, like, who was here? Has anybody come through the gateways to come to Zuras? He's like, yeah, well, somebody that we haven't been able to see. Then Icarus goes to Titanos, and Sprite comes with him, and Sprite's just like, yeah, I'm not leaving your side because I think the other Eternals are going to think I did it. So as long as I'm with you, at least something positive will come of that. So I'm just going to stay in your area, and we'll help each other out there. So they're walking through the ruined city of Titanos, and Titanos was like the first Eternal city, and it was destroyed by something. And you're just like, man, look at all this crazy stuff. They're trying to find some stuff. They see like this weird portal where Icarus is standing over like the tombstone of this dead kid named Toby Robson, and he's like, I'm sorry. And you're just like, well, that's a reality. I don't know what happened, and whatever. Okay, it's great. I don't know. Oh, it's such a weird... It's dense. We'll get to it, and then we'll just finish this. We'll get to my complaints. So, we see that the person that devastated the city is an eternal killer, somebody that's kind of eternal, and he's like, I'm gonna show you death, and it's Thanos, and he's here to kill Icarus, and that's a nice end shot. Of course, we need Thanos in here to sell the book even more, because the Eternals can't stand on their own. They can't. They haven't. Like, who read the Neil Gaiman book? I'm sure some people have fond memories of that, but like, who actively goes out and reads that book again? There's a reason that these characters haven't been featured heavily in comics for a long time, and that's because they are just so hard to like. There's just too much about them. I have so much hopes for the TV. I have so much hopes for the movie, but I'm like, it's gonna be hard to make these characters work. Luckily, you got the right actors who are very likable and friendly, but these characters in comic books, they don't work. The problem is, Marvel is not DC. They can't have a place for all these cosmic entity gods in the same way DC does, and it doesn't work that way. And it's just like, if you've never read an Eternals book in your life, and this is where you start, suddenly you're like, all right, our lead character Icarus wakes up in this random building I've never seen before. He's talking to an Odin-type character and a mother box, pretty much. And we get like a whole list of all these like 10 other places where they could be and doing different things. And you're like, this is a lot to take in. Like, it's really is a lot to take in. And then suddenly, like, all right, Zeros is like, free Sprite. Well, what does Sprite do? Sprite's a girl now. They go to New York. They meet Tony Stark. They fight a deviant. It's like all this stuff is happening that is just so much that you don't know if you've never seen the Eternals before. And you're like, so they each have powers is kind of what they're saying? Because, you know, Sprite's running fast. Icarus is really strong. Everyone's really weird. There's just all these places. They're millions of years old. Thanos is trying to kill them. There's just so much going on here that if you have no idea who the Eternals are, the narration from the machine doesn't really help you because it's just telling you all this information. It's kind of like a sensory overload thing where there's just so much information being given to you that's like, this is hard to comprehend. I do think the book flows pretty good. And we spent a lot of time in a lot of scenes, and it's interesting to see that. I don't particularly think the artwork is perfect. It looks very fast, and fast I mean like there's no real detail. Like everything is like quickly colored. The designs are out of focus a lot of the time. There's like no real detail on the faces, and that I think is also like, it's cool that Kieran Gillen's writing a book like this, but why doesn't the artwork like match that? I don't know. There's something about this one. I hope it gets people interested in the Eternals, but it's gonna be really hard to like say they can sustain a book. I hope it works though. I hope it works because there might be a place in the Marvel Universe for these guys. I don't think so, but you never know. I'm just one person. Maybe there's a whole slew of Eternals fans out there. Oh, it's tiring, and then it's like, let's do a murder mystery. Who's killing the Eternals? Well, if they come back, wouldn't we be able to find out? I don't know. Whatever, it's fine. We're making people look like they will in the movie. For some reason, Icarus does not look like Richard Madden's gonna look, and I'm like, that's great. We couldn't even give him the same Richard Madden haircut. Like, really? Like, we're just gonna... Whatever. It's fine. I hope it's good. I hope people like this book. But for me right now, I'm like, it's hard to comprehend how much is going on in here. If you've never read an Eternals book, it's a good start, but it's still a lot of information for you to understand. And I hope a lot of people can understand it. Maybe I just didn't really care enough to like give it the attention it deserved, or maybe I just don't like the Eternals, but I'm just thinking this is going to be a lot for some new readers, and I don't think it, so far, after one issue, I don't think it's done it as good as the Neil Gaiman book did, or as the Jack Kirby book did, but we got an entire, I'm going to assume at least 6 issues to figure out what the fuck this is, so it could be good by then. So Eternals, issue number 1, I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.